Special Agent Steve Payne with the FBI. Today is Tuesday, May 8th. Time is approximately 2:55 p.m. by my watch. Following will be a the following will be a interview with Israel Keys, date of birth January 7th, 1978. Also present with me is going to be Task Force Officer Jeff Bell, and we're here at the Anchorage office of the FBI. Have all the other ones. So Israel, I know you already know us, but again, my name is Steve Payne. I'm with the FBI, and this is my partner Jeff Bell, Task Force Officer. He's working with us here. And I just want to confirm, obviously, when we picked you up in the jail, you were willing to come over here and speak with us today, and that we didn't interrupt your visit with your attorney or anyone else. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in here. I know that we've gone through this before. I apologize, but it's something that we've got to do for a variety of reasons, as you're well aware. So just kind of bear with me. So we're here to speak to you about crimes unrelated to Samantha Koenig. I just want to make sure that we're all in the same sheet of music with
Right.
that. You understand that, right?
Right.
Okay. If you do start talking about Samantha or anything to do with the Koenig case for which you're already charged and represented, then we're going to have to terminate the interview and we'll have to take you back to jail. Do you understand that?
Good to know I got a way out.
Yeah, that's true. And this is all up to you, right?
Right.
We've told you this before. It's up to you to come over and sit down and talk with us, and
Yes.
you can choose which questions you answer and which ones you don't, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay? So with that in mind, we're going to run through your rights. I know you know them, but we want to make sure we cover them. With respect to the other crimes, obviously we're not talking about anything to do with the Koenig case. You have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to refuse to answer any questions. Anything you do say can be used against you, can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to consult an attorney before speaking with us, or you can also have an attorney present if you wish, either now or in the future. Okay. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you before any questioning, if you wish. Do you understand these rights as I've
Yes.
explained them to you? Are you willing to waive these rights?
Yes.
And speak with us now without an attorney present?
Yes.
Okay. You also understand that Mr. Currier has been appointed by the court as your standby counsel. It's kind of a new term to me, but
Yes.
standby counsel. Do you want him here while you're speaking with us today?
No.
Okay. This morning, Jacqueline Walsh was appointed,
Yes.
has filed a notice with the court that she also represents you in our discussion with you about other crimes.
Well, as standby counsel.
I'm not totally sure if they're the same thing.
I know she's trying to say something else, but yeah. I never agreed to have anyone represent me. The only reason I have standby counsel on crimes unrelated to the one to what I am being represented on is because the judge ordered it as standby counsel.
Just to clarify, you don't have a lawyer appointed to you for anything other than Samantha Koenig.
And I would have preferred to not even had standby counsel. I can speak on my own behalf, especially on things unrelated to what I already have a lawyer appointed for.
Okay.
And the only reason I had standby counsel appointed on other matters is because the judge ordered it. I didn't have any say in the matter, so.
Okay, and that's fine. And I'm just telling you that she's filed a notice with the court to represent you in the discussion of other crimes unrelated to Koenig. And with that in mind, do you want her present when you're speaking with us here today?
No.
Okay. So we've mentioned this already, but if you decide to answer questions now without an attorney present, you have the right to stop answering at any point in time. You don't have to answer our questions. You can stop in the middle, that type of thing.
Right.
You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. And the only thing that we ask is the same thing that we've discussed before. Rather than lie to us about stuff, just tell us, hey, I don't want to answer that.
Right.
Okay. Are you under the influence of any medication or drugs today?
No.
Okay. Are you having any trouble understanding where you're at or what's going on?
No.
Okay. So with all this stuff in mind, you still want to talk to us?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize for that. I know it's somewhat formal, but it is what it is.
Right.
Obviously, we weren't present the last time that some folks spoke with you. My understanding is that Mr. Feldis was there. It's a couple of guys from ATF.
Yeah.
They were there as well. And we were working on some other things actually to do with this particular case that day. And in talking with those guys, the issue of some property and stuff came up. We've been kind of working on that, among other things. And so I'm going to kind of turn things over to Jeff, let him talk about that. Okay.
Since I'm the APD employee here, APD was initially in charge of this,
right,
investigating this. The items that you were talking with Mr. Feldis about wishing Kimberly to have back were taken under a state search warrant.
Right.
So those are the issues that we've had to work with over the last week or so to try to accommodate that.
That's what I figured, but yeah, I'm following you.
Okay, so I'm thinking that, in fact, we have an order here for a couple of items that were a little easier to work with. And I know we had talked with you earlier about some tools. So one of the things I want that are Kimberly's, not necessarily yours, that you want her to have so she could sell maybe for money or something like that. And we never specifically got that information from you. So sometime today I'm going to want to get that so that we can work on those items. All right?
Okay.
But what I do have is we did get the district attorney to agree to the couple cameras of Kimberly's and a cell phone of hers. All right.
Not the car, I take it.
Well, the car is going to be a little bit more complicated for obvious reasons.
Not really.
Well, it's deciding how much evidentiary value there is to an item. Now, the car is something that I don't think it's unsurpassable for us to convince them that the car might be something that we could eventually get back to her. But I can tell you that the bosses are going to want. They're going to have to see a reason to give the vehicle back because of what they deem as evidentiary value in that. I mean,
there's no evidentiary value in it.
Well, one of the things, and I'm just throwing this out here, I'm not trying to talk you into doing something you don't want to do, but one of the things, like with the cameras and the phone, that stuff, it's essentially digital equipment, and so we can copy the information that's in that. Well, as you can imagine, it's a lot more difficult to copy a vehicle. You really can't do that. And so
if your evidence technicians haven't collected every possible bit of evidence in 2 months off of that car that you could possibly get, then you need to get new evidence technicians.
Well, and that's one of the other problems is too, at this point in our investigation, there's a little bit of apprehension about what else, if anything, that vehicle could be involved in, or what other.
Possibly be involved?
Well, we don't know because we're kind of early in this stage of this investigation, and we're finding out new things.
I realize you don't have to take my word for anything. I've already told you there's nothing else that vehicle is involved in. It was barely involved in what it's being held for now. So it's like I say, there is very little evidentiary value to it to begin with, especially considering the mountain of evidence I've already given you. And secondly, it's a car. It's not like even if this case were to go to trial, it would go into the courtroom as evidence. I mean, whatever evidence.
And we're not talking about that case.
You're concerned that it was used in crimes.
Yeah, we're talking about just anything that could potentially be new. And so that.
Even
but I'm just explaining
even if
the process.
You're concerned about that, all you have to do is take pictures of it and take tread impressions. And I mean, it's like.
And there's an element of truth to what you're saying, Israel, it definitely is. But keep in mind that we're trying to sell the state prosecutor on this.
I can imagine. I know there's a lot of people involved, and I know that they're not going to want to do anything I say because they got me where they want me. But that's irrelevant because I already know I'm in jail indefinitely anyway, so... If they want me to cooperate, if they want more information, I haven't asked for that much in return. And I think, getting Kimberly's car back to her is pretty minor, considering that she's already been cleared, as far as I know, at least publicly cleared of being at all involved with anything.
And she's been publicly cleared, but ultimately we don't have any assurance from anyone that she's not going to be charged yet. And so that's one of the additional battles that we're fighting too, is we're saying, look, this guy's cooperating with us.
We don't see any reason that
Yeah.
anything like that would happen. But you understand that we have bosses, there's attorneys involved in this. What we're telling you is that what we're telling you is that we don't think it's something that can't be solved, but it's not something that is going to be as quick as what we've already done with the cameras and the cell phone. All right, so we're trying to work with you. We know it's something that you wanted. We're just trying to make sure that our bosses understand we're kind of getting something in return for that, and and it's going both ways. So that's all we're trying to do, is we're cooperating and explaining to them why we're doing it and why we think it's a good idea to do. But those are the things that we're.
Yeah, if they can't see the value in it, then honestly, I don't see why anyone should have to explain it to them.
Well.
It's kind of, to me, it's common sense. You got another whole case, double homicide that you didn't even know about. So, in return, I asked for her to get her car back that you've already had for 2 months almost, and that seems pretty small to me, especially since I've told you, and you have absolutely no evidence that it was used in any other crime that you don't know about. And I can vouch for that. Kimberly can vouch for that. Whatever. That car has never left Alaska, so.
And those are good arguments, and those are the arguments we're going to use to try to work that out. But I'm just letting you know that was
I understand. It's going to take some time. I believe you.
And just so you know, where we started out was the answer was no to everything. And we were able to talk to them and point out a lot of these things, not everything that you've mentioned, but a lot of the things you've mentioned we pointed out to the attorneys, primarily the state attorney, but also the other attorneys involved and our bosses, and we ultimately got them to agree that, yeah, you have done a good job of cooperating and kind of holding up your end of the bargain thus far, and so we got them
and
to
you
agree.
continue to do so, and that's the main thing that we're focusing on.
Right, but look, I want to continue. Like I say, if I get the few things that I've asked for, or if I at least feel like they're being worked towards, I have no reason. Like I say, I already know I'm never getting out of prison or whatever, so I have no reason to not tell you more information, stories, whatever. However, I'm not going to just do it on a whim and just because I'm bored or because I feel like it. I don't. There's no incentive for me to do that.
Understand.
The things I've done, and I didn't do them because I don't feel bad about them, and I didn't do them because I felt I had no other choice. I did them for myself, so it's just as good. It's better actually for me to keep them to myself. Because they're mine, sure. And so unless I'm going to get something in return, aside from just an ego boost by talking about them, then I'm not going to talk about them. I don't have any interest in it. Okay. I've already given the attorneys everything they need, and if they want to know about more stuff, I can give them that too. But they're not going to get it. I'm not going to be. The typical tactics of letting me sweat it out in a cell or threatening me with whatever, the death penalty, whatever, isn't going to work on me because I don't. It doesn't faze me really.
Well, anyhow, we wanted to address that. I just want to let you know that we do have the order to release the 2 cameras and the phone, and that we were successful in that, and we're working on the vehicle. But we are going to have to be able to convince them that our relationship and this is going to continue, and so that's where we need to.
Well, that's the only way it can continue.
Okay. And you were also in your last meeting talking about the house, the Currier house, and maybe had some concerns about whether we had the right one and what was,
Yeah.
what was the status of that investigation.
Right.
Well, do you have the photo of the house?
I've got.
Pre?
Yeah, the short version, Israel, is that I know that we have the right house. I don't have the photos from the actual search when I went out and searched the area where the house had been demolished and stuff. The best I can do right now is pull up some photos off of the internet to show you the house that we searched, which I'm very confident is the right one. And I'm going to explain to you why. The short version is, as you know, we don't have the Currier's bodies in hand yet. The house was demolished. We thought that they were probably in the basement when the house was demolished. That didn't wind up being the case. Among other things, we had cadaver dogs out there. They alerted on the same corner of the basement, the southeast corner of the basement that you told us about, so they alerted there. We talked to a number of folks on the demolition crew. I think there was about 3 or 4 folks on the demolition crew, and they all ironically said, yeah, we smelled this horrible odor. It smelled essentially like a dead body or dead animal, that type of thing, depending on who you talk to. And yet none of them, much to our shock and awe, decided it might be a good idea to go in and walk through the house. So apparently they didn't do that. Otherwise, the bodies would have been discovered. They just went ahead with their demolition. I don't know why they did that. Doesn't matter. But they did. We did some additional research on how the house was demolished. It was very similar to what you described in one of the interviews a while back, by the way. And our best guess, frankly, is they were using a huge crane to basically excavate the site and stuff, and it would go in and basically pick up the better part of half a dump truck load of stuff.
In one scoop. So
yeah.
I mean, huge.
And our
bucket.
Our best guess at this point in time is Murphy's Law. They scooped up the bags without basically splitting them open, that type of thing, and put them in the dump truck. We've tracked them down to the dump in Vermont, and we actually have folks there right now today searching it. And we've got it narrowed down to a pretty small area of the dump.
Where all that debris was taken from that house.
And
Wow.
And I'm
They got their work cut out for them.
and I mean, just to again, I mean,
Mr. Currier's glasses were found.
Yeah, and we were able to match those to him, so they were found at the scene. So we do have a connection to the scene and to the Curriers and stuff, and we've been able to corroborate the information that you're giving us on this. It's just not going as quickly or as smoothly as we would all like, and frankly, the way that it usually goes in most cases, it's just not going that well. Every once in a while, there's a hiccup, and that's really what this is. But I printed out some stuff. Again, I'm not asking you to just take my word for it. The reason I don't have the photos is because the same folks that were running point for us on the search of the house were the ones that tracked it back to the dump, and then ultimately are there right now today searching.
Right.
So I didn't want them to delay what they were doing at the dump just to send me a bunch of pictures. So, but what I'm going to show you here is these are photos. This one's at a little bit of a distance. Ironically, it's got a white truck in it, though. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and we knew it was. I mean, you're good with your directions and everything else. So this is the place that was ultimately demolished and that we searched and did not find the bodies in.
Do you have? Were there any interior pictures, like from the real estate listing agent or something?
That's all we were able to find with that.
Because if they ever, I don't know if they ever want the interview of, like what happened inside the house, that might be.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's probably good enough, just a picture of the outside.
So clearly, I mean, you can see I'm not bullshitting you here. This is the place that we went to and researched. This is also a story I was going to show you just to show that we're continuing to do what we were telling you about, and I'm not BSing you on the search of the dump. We started the search yesterday, and they're continuing today, and it's going to take a little while. It's a dump.
And if you read that, you're not going to find any relation to you or Alaska or anything. We've been successful, and the attorneys have been successful in doing just what they explained that they could do by being in control of this. So basically, because of the level of cooperation we have, there's still no connection. We're still able to convince them to keep it quiet.
No, that's good. Alrighty.
So anyway, with that in mind, that's kind of what we're following up on now. I have no doubt that we're going to find the bodies because we've been very successful at narrowing it down to an area of the dump. And it's not tiny, but it's small enough to where we're going to be able to search it successfully. I have no doubt of that. But it's going to take time for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is some of the safety concerns and stuff like that. I mean, you can't just go in there and start throwing stuff around.
Gotta
as you
wear-
can imagine.
You got to wear special stuff because of all the
Yeah.
human waste. And
Yeah, like I said, I really jumped the gun on that, but I had no idea. Oh man, what the hell? But
And so
looking
there-
at that house, I knew there was like a 10% chance that the owner was either going to pay to have it demolished or just throw a match in.
It was that ragged, that the house.
Well, I knew. I just knew from what I know about houses. I knew it wasn't something anybody would try to remodel.
Did it have
or
a
refurbish.
for sale sign out in front of it? Was it
Yeah.
for sale actively?
Yeah.
So apparently there wasn't too many people looking at that house to purchase it after you were there
No.
in the months.
Well, this is off of our real estate
yeah.
website. So.
I
That's
think-
why I was curious. I'm not surprised though that whoever had it listed didn't take pictures of the inside because it was in pretty bad.
Wasn't
shape.
impressive to
No,
put
it
on
wasn't. It actually looks a lot better from the outside.
And so now that the people out there in Vermont are in the dump and they're looking for your black bags, so and I think you told us 4 bags. Are they separate bags, or did you put a bag on the bottom and a bag on the top?
Yeah,
Or
that's how it was.
separate bags, or a bag on the top, bag on. I mean, were they
2 bags on each body.
okay?
That's that's what I thought you had said. How did you secure them? I mean, did you
I don't think they were secured.
Just
I may have
covered.
knotted them on top,
Oh.
like knotted the 2 bags together. But
Okay.
the main reason I had for putting the bags on was just so that people they would have to actually pull the
Pull
bag
them off.
off to see what it was in it, and also to hold the Drano on the bodies. I had some Drano that I brought with me.
okay?
So when they're looking for these, if there's any, did you dismember them? So
No.
they're looking, so they're intact. So if we find partial, we need to keep looking to find.
Yeah,
them.
if I'm guessing, it sounds like they brought in a big excavator or something. I'm still surprised.
Sounds like a really big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have had to have been a really big one because like I say, the bags weren't tied together, so it seems like the bodies would have. Although it's been less than a year, so the bodies probably weren't even, they were probably only about halfway to skeletal. So
Do
they're
you
probably.
think even with all the moisture the bags will trap and stuff?
Well, it depends how busy the bugs got, but
And what you put the Drano in there? Is that what you said? Drano?
yeah.
What's that for?
The Drano was an idea I had in case they were found right away. I didn't want there to be any DNA on the outside of the bodies.
Oh, does that?
I had heard that the lye in the Drano destroys, like scrambles up all the DNA. I don't know. And also, I was thinking to keep it like. If you leave it on, if you leave the Drano I was using, I had used it before, and I noticed that they got splashed on me, and it'll actually burn through your skin if you leave it on there long enough. And so that was the other thought I had, that it would start the decomposition, and they would, it'd break them down a little bit faster,
Mm-hmm.
keep them from bloating and stuff.
And you didn't tape the bag shut at all, or do anything?
No, I know they weren't taped. They were possibly knotted.
Would they be knotted with a zip tie, or did
No.
you just knot them?
Just they may have been. Seems like the bags might have been the kind with the flaps, like extended portions of the bag on the top of the mouth of the bag
That you
can
used to tie.
together. So what I may have done is pulled them together at the waist, at the torso, and then just done a knot on top. But I don't think I did. It was dark and I was in a hurry at that point, so it's more likely
How early in the morning? How close was it to getting daylight?
It was daylight. It was.
Oh, was it?
It was probably about 6 in the morning when I had everything wrapped up. Probably.
And then you said you left in their car and you drove around a while to find a place to go directly to the parking lot and dump the car, or did you do some driving around?
No, I drove directly to the Lowe's parking lot, or maybe it was Home Depot. I forget the store. Lowe's or Home Depot, right there across from where my hotel was. I left the car in that parking lot and walked back to the hotel.
Oh, so you didn't actually take the car right then and there to...
No, and then I went back to the hotel room and I was waiting for... I was thinking about getting some sleep, but by then it was pretty late in the morning and I wanted to get up. I wanted to get to the banks up north by like the time they opened. It would have been like probably 9 or 10. So I was just getting everything packed up in the motel room. I think I was planning to check out that morning, and so I got everything packed up and kind of sorted through some of the stuff I'd taken from their house, and I think I used the dumpster at the motel to throw all the clothes and whatever else I'd used at the house into the dumpster. And then I went and drove the car I had rented to another parking lot. It was across the street from the Home Depot, and then went and got in their car and drove up north to where the banks were.
Where at up north?
It's up Route 15 there. I think the furthest bank that I was looking at was up in a town called Johnson or Johnsonville or something. And then there were 2 or 3 more banks on the way back down that I was planning on. But I got about halfway up to Johnsonville or whatever it was called, and I started noticing some things about the car that made me nervous, and so I just
Like it wouldn't make it?
Yeah, Murphy's Law. I didn't want to tempt it, and so I just kind of scratched that idea and drove.
But your plan was to use their car to at least...
Yeah, I was figuring it might be... It would have been... I was going to do them really quick, and because I wanted to do like 2 or 3 of the small ones, these small banks that hardly ever have any customers in them, and so I already had all the guns with me. The guns were all set up and ready to go, and then I had their car, and so I knew I could leave my car would never even be seen up there. So I already had. I think I already had a disguise with me and stuff too, but yeah, the car made me nervous because I remember it had a clutch that slipped, and then there was like 2 cans of antifreeze or coolant or something in the back seat, and I remember asking them, I was like, "What the heck are these for?" And they're like, "Oh, the car overheats." I was like, "Oh crap." So I knew the car had problems, but I didn't know how serious they were till the next morning, and I got to see the car like in the daylight. I was like, "Oh my god, this thing's a piece of junk." So.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Saturn. I think it was a sedan. Yeah, it had a trunk. I think it was a blue Saturn, blue or green.
Any
older one? It was like, I think it had like 100 and something zillion miles on it, and it was probably like mid 90s or something.
You said you had your disguise with you. What was your disguise going to be?
I don't remember.
You changed that up?
Well, yeah. It's not a disguise if you don't change your disguise.
Yeah,
it's a costume.
Good point.
Was your disguise going to be that trip?
No, I think it was the same one. I think it was pretty much the same idea I had that I used in Texas.
The dust mask.
The dust mask and the helmet. Except slight variation. I think I also had a nylon stocking or something, like a hairnet, that I was going to put my hair up under the helmet so people thought I had short hair.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Texas I had short hair, and I taped hair on the inside of the helmet so people thought I had long hair. Other than that, I think it was pretty much the same idea. I think maybe I had a safety vest on that one though.
The one in Texas?
The one I was set up to do in Vermont. I don't know.
Not too far off the construction worker look. That's what you.
Yeah, I was pretty like after the Currier thing. That was pretty intense, and just because of like how carried away it got, and so I between that and the car, I just decided not to do the bank robbery. I was afraid I was gonna freak out and get trigger happy or something. So
like you wouldn't be able to keep control, huh?
Yeah, I just was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Which guns did you have with you when you were going up to look at the banks?
I had Well, when I went to look at the banks, I had just the two that I was going to rob the bank with, because I was in their car. I didn't really have much of my stuff in their car.
Mm-hmm.
I had there was their suitcase in the trunk of their car, and it had a bunch of other stuff. It had like some lingerie I took from her house and or from her room, and jewelry. It had like miscellaneous stuff. I think maybe the gun that I took. All that stuff was in the trunk of their car in a suitcase. I think I had thrown in a couple of their suitcases.
The gun. You mean you're talking about the gun you threw in the
gun I took from their house?
and threw that in the reservoir as well?
Yeah, it ended up.
That was the 38, right?
Yeah.
Where do you buy hair? Where'd you get hair to put on on your helmet? Like costume hair or real hair?
No, it was actually real hair.
Oh.